The crystalline spires of Zephyria Prime stretched toward twin suns, their surfaces refracting light into prismatic rainbows that painted the sky in impossible colors. Ambassador Elena Voss stood at the observation deck of the human embassy, watching the alien city bustle with activity far below. After 18 months of negotiations, she knew this would be her final view of the Zephyrian capital. "The transport is ready, Ambassador," Captain Marcus Reed announced from behind her, his voice carrying that familiar note of quiet confidence that had sustained her through countless difficult meetings. Elena turned to face him, noting how the alien sunlight caught the gold flecks in his brown eyes. 3 years of working together had created a partnership that went beyond mere professional courtesy, though neither had dared acknowledge the growing attraction that simmered beneath their formal interactions. "Already eager to leave, Marcus?" Elena asked with a slight smile, dropping the formal titles they usually maintained in public. Marcus stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne mixed with the metallic scent of the ship's recycled air. "We both know what their final offer will contain. The same impossible demands they've been making for months." Xenobiologist Jade Chen entered the observation lounge, carrying a data pad filled with her latest research. Her usually neat black hair showed signs of stress, with several strands escaping from her professional bun. "Elena, you need to see this. I've been analyzing their internal communications, and the truth is worse than we suspected." Elena took the data pad and scanned through Jade's translated documents. The Zephyrian High Council had been discussing humanity's future with casual indifference, as if planning a construction project. Humans would be relocated to designated service sectors on various alien worlds. Human children would be educated in specialized schools designed to produce workers for specific industries. Human cultural practices would be modified to eliminate traditions that might interfere with efficient labor management. "They're talking about us like livestock," Marcus observed, reading over Elena's shoulder. His proximity sent a small thrill through her despite the grim circumstances. Breeding programs, behavioral conditioning, genetic modifications. The familiar knot of frustration tightened in Elena's stomach. For 18 months, she had tried every diplomatic approach possible. She had appealed to Zephyrian self-interest, argued for mutual respect, even attempted to shame them by highlighting contradictions in their supposed ethical standards. Nothing had worked. The aliens listened politely, made encouraging sounds, then continued planning humanity's future as if human opinions were irrelevant curiosities. "There's something else," Jade added quietly. "I've been monitoring communications from other alien species. The Alteran Federation, the Cytherian Empire, the Void Walkers. They all view humanity the same way. We're useful tools, nothing more." Elena closed her eyes and took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. As humanity's chief ambassador, her decisions would affect billions of people across dozens of star systems. The safe choice would be accepting whatever terms the aliens offered. The dangerous choice would be rejecting their demands entirely, potentially isolating humanity from galactic civilization. But looking at Marcus and Jade, both brilliant individuals who deserved better than servitude, Elena realized that safety and dignity were incompatible here. Sometimes the most dangerous path was also the only one worth taking. "Marcus, send a coded message to Earth Command," she decided. "Tell them diplomatic solutions appear impossible, and we may need to implement withdrawal protocols." Marcus straightened, his expression becoming focused. "Are you certain? Once we start that process, there's no going back." Elena met his gaze directly, seeing her own determination reflected in his eyes. "I'm certain." The next morning, Elena walked into the Zephyrian Council chamber for her final appearance as humanity's representative. The chamber was a masterpiece of alien architecture, with crystalline walls and lighting that shifted colors based on speakers' emotional resonance. 12 different alien species maintained permanent delegations here, representing billions of individuals across hundreds of worlds. The Zephyrian speaker, a crystalline being nearly 3 meters tall, gestured for Elena to approach the central podium. His translated voice carried harmonics that human ears could barely detect, creating an otherworldly echo. "Ambassador Voss," the speaker began, The Council has reached a decision regarding humanity's future role in galactic civilization. We believe you will find our offer both generous and appropriate. Elena took her position, acutely aware that Marcus and Jade were watching from the delegation area. Marcus caught her eye and gave her an almost imperceptible nod of encouragement. The speaker's crystalline form shifted colors, displaying satisfaction. Humanity has proven useful in specialized roles. We offer to expand these opportunities significantly. Human colonies will be relocated to worlds more suitable for efficient resource extraction. Human education systems will be restructured to produce workers trained for specific industries. Human genetic diversity will be preserved through managed breeding programs. Elena felt her stomach clench as the speaker continued outlining humanity's future. With the same tone used for livestock management, round the chamber, alien representatives made sounds of approval. In exchange, the speaker concluded, humanity will receive advanced medical technology, improved nutrition, and the honor of serving civilizations far older and wiser than your own. The chamber fell silent as Elena prepared her response. She could feel the weight of history pressing down, knowing her next words would reshape humanity's relationship with the galaxy forever. In the delegation area, Marcus leaned forward, his expression mixing concern with something deeper that made her pulse quicken. On behalf of humanity, Elena began, her voice carrying clearly. I must respectfully decline your offer. The words hung in the air like a physical presence, causing alien delegates to make sounds of confusion and surprise. The Zephyrian speaker's form flickered through several color patterns. Ambassador Voss, the speaker said, perhaps you misunderstood. This is not a negotiation. This is an assignment based on analysis of your species' capabilities. Your approval is not required. Elena straightened her shoulders and looked directly at the speaker. Then let me be perfectly clear. Humanity rejects your authority to make decisions about our future. We withdraw from all treaties, agreements, and cooperative arrangements with the Zephyrian Consortium, effective immediately. The chamber erupted in chaos as alien delegates began shouting in untranslatable languages. The speaker's form shifted through rapid color changes, suggesting extreme agitation. This is unacceptable, the speaker declared. Your species lacks maturity to make such decisions. You will reconsider this foolish position. Elena gathered her materials with deliberate calm. Humanity's position is final. We choose independence over servitude, uncertainty over slavery, and dignity over safety. She walked toward the chamber doors with measured steps, each footfall echoing in the suddenly quiet space. Behind her, Marcus and Jade rose and followed, their footsteps adding to the rhythm of departure. The alien delegates watched in stunned silence, unable to comprehend that their servants had just declared independence. As the massive doors closed behind them, Elena felt Marcus's hand briefly touch her shoulder in a gesture of support that sent warmth through her chest. That was either the bravest thing I've ever witnessed, Marcus said quietly, or the most suicidal. Elena turned to face him, seeing determination in his eyes along with something that made her heart skip a beat. Probably both, but at least we'll face whatever comes next as free human beings. Their transport lifted off 30 minutes later, carrying humanity's diplomatic team away from alien space toward an uncertain future. As Elena watched the crystalline city disappear below, Marcus moved to stand beside her. Earth Command confirms receipt, he reported. Full evacuation protocols are being implemented. How long before they realize what they've lost? Elena asked. Based on Jade's research, maybe 6 months before critical systems start failing. Elena finally turned from the window to look at him directly. Are you having second thoughts? Marcus met her gaze without hesitation. Not for a second. Some things are more important than safety. Freedom is one of them. The sincerity in his voice made Elena's pulse quicken, and she realized their shared commitment had created something deeper between them. As their transport jumped to hyperspace, Elena felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. Humanity had just declared independence from an entire galaxy of alien civilizations, but for the first time in years, Elena felt truly free. 3 weeks after Ambassador Elena Voss walked out of the Zephyrian Council chamber, Trade Director Noah Blake stood in the cargo bay of New Horizons Station, humanity's largest commercial hub in neutral space. The massive facility had processed over 12 million tons of cargo annually for the past 15 years, serving as the primary distribution center for human goods throughout alien space. Now, Noah watched as the final shipments were loaded onto human vessels for the journey home. The Alteran delegation is requesting another meeting, Engineer Luna Martinez announced, approaching Noah with a data pad in her hands. Her short auburn hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her coveralls were stained with hydraulic fluid from the morning's equipment dismantling. Over the past month of working together to coordinate the evacuation, Noah had found himself increasingly drawn to Luna's combination of technical brilliance and quiet determination. "What's their offer this time?" Noah asked, accepting the data pad while trying not to notice how Luna's green eyes seemed to sparkle with barely contained amusement. "Triple compensation for maintaining our current shipping contracts, exclusive trading rights in the Kepler sector, and a formal apology for any misunderstandings regarding humanity's status." Luna made air quotes around the word misunderstandings, though personally, "I think we should tell them exactly where they can stick their exclusive trading rights." Noah laughed, surprised by Luna's bluntness. During their professional interactions over the past 3 years, she had always maintained careful politeness when working with alien supervisors. This more direct version of Luna was far more appealing than he had expected. "Tempting," Noah admitted, "but Elena wants to maintain diplomatic courtesy even while we're dismantling their entire economic system. Something about not burning bridges we might need later." Luna moved closer to examine the cargo manifest on Noah's data pad, close enough that he caught the faint scent of her shampoo mixed with machine oil. "Do you think we'll need those bridges? After everything they've put us through?" The question touched on something Noah had been wondering himself. As trade director, he had spent the last decade building relationships with alien merchants, learning their customs, adapting human business practices to accommodate alien preferences. Many of those relationships had felt genuine, based on mutual respect and shared interests. But the events of the past month had revealed how quickly those aliens abandoned any pretense of equality when their interests were threatened. "Honestly, I hope not," Noah replied, watching Luna's reaction carefully. "But Elena's right to keep our options open. We don't know what the galaxy will look like in 5 years. A low rumble echoed through the cargo bay as another human transport ship docked with the station. Luna checked her chronometer and frowned. "That's the last scheduled pickup from the manufacturing sector. We're actually ahead of schedule." "Your efficiency protocols," Noah observed. "I've never seen an evacuation run this smoothly." Luna's cheeks flushed slightly at the compliment. "It helps that we built most of this infrastructure ourselves. We know exactly how to take it apart without damaging the important components." Over the past month, Noah had watched Luna coordinate the systematic dismantling of installations that had taken decades to build. She approached each task with methodical precision, ensuring that critical components were safely removed while leaving behind only basic structures that the aliens could potentially operate themselves. It was surgical demolition on a massive scale, and Luna had orchestrated it like a symphony conductor managing a complex musical performance. "The aliens still think we're just temporarily closing some facilities," Luna continued, pulling up schematics on her data pad. "They don't understand that we're removing the knowledge along with the equipment. Even if they figured out how to restart these operations, they'd be working from scratch." Noah studied the schematics Luna showed him, recognizing the elegant efficiency of human engineering adapted for alien environments. Each system had been designed to function reliably, with minimal maintenance, using materials and techniques that other species found difficult to replicate. The aliens had grown so accustomed to human competence that they had never bothered learning how their own infrastructure actually worked. A new voice interrupted their conversation. "Director Blake, Engineer Martinez." They turned to see Crystal, an Alteran merchant who had worked closely with human traders for over 8 years. His forearms gestured frantically as he approached, his translator device struggling to keep up with his rapid speech. "Crystal," Noah acknowledged politely. "I wasn't expecting to see you here." "Please, Director Blake," You must reconsider this. Evacuation. My business depends entirely on human shipping networks. Without your transport services, I will lose everything I have built over the past decade. Noah felt a pang of sympathy for the alien merchant. Unlike the government officials who had treated humans as servants, Crystal had always conducted business with genuine respect and fairness. He paid his bills on time, never tried to cheat human crews, and had even defended human interests during several trade disputes. I'm sorry, Crystal, but the decision has been made at the highest levels. We're consolidating all operations closer to human space. Crystal's translator made sounds indicating extreme distress. But your people are the only ones who can navigate the dangerous trade routes safely. Other shipping companies lose half their vessels to pirates and spatial anomalies. They charge triple rates for services you provided as standard practice. Luna stepped forward, her expression softening slightly. We've prepared detailed navigation charts and safety protocols for all the major trade routes. We'll transfer them to the Merchants Guild before we leave. Charts and protocols cannot replace experience and intuition, Crystal replied desperately. Human pilots know how to read spatial distortions that our sensors cannot detect. Human engineers maintain ships in ways that extend their operational life far beyond manufacturer's specifications. Noah exchanged a look with Luna, seeing his own conflicted feelings reflected in her eyes. They were both engineers at heart. People who took pride in building things that worked well and lasted long. Watching the systematic destruction of everything they had built felt wrong on a fundamental level, even when they understood the necessity. I wish there was another way, Noah said honestly. But your governments made their position clear. They don't want human partners, they want human servants. We can't accept that. After Crystal left, Noah and Luna continued their inspection in companionable silence. The cargo bay was nearly empty now, with only a few pieces of non-essential equipment remaining behind. Do you think we'll see each other again after this? Luna asked suddenly. The question caught Noah off guard, though he realized he had been wondering the same thing. I hope so. Earth Command will need people with our experience to help establish new trade networks in human space. Luna smiled, and Noah felt his heart skip a beat. I'd like that. Working with you these past few weeks has been the best part of a very difficult time. Noah felt warmth spread through his chest at her admission. For me too, maybe when this is all over, we could work together on something new, something that's entirely ours. As their transport ship departed New Horizon Station 6 hours later, Noah and Luna stood together at the observation window, watching the alien facility shrink into the distance. Behind them, the last human civilians from this sector of space settled into their quarters for the long journey home. No regrets, Luna asked softly. Noah took her hand, feeling the calluses from years of engineering work. None at all. We're building something better. 6 months after humanity's withdrawal from galactic society, pilot Ethan cross-navigated his transport ship through the debris field that had once been Kepler Mining Station. The massive installation had been humanity's most remote outpost, extracting rare minerals from asteroids in a region of space where gravitational anomalies made conventional mining impossible. Now twisted metal and shattered rock drifted in chaotic patterns, evidence of the catastrophic failure that had claimed over 3,000 alien workers. Sweet mercy, whispered Arya Storm from the co-pilot's seat, her dark eyes wide with shock as she surveyed the destruction. As a maintenance specialist, she understood better than most how many safety systems had to fail simultaneously to cause this level of devastation. What happened here? Ethan adjusted their course to avoid a chunk of debris that had once been part of the station's central hub. According to the distress beacon, they tried to modify the gravitational stabilizers without understanding how they worked. The resulting cascade failure tore the station apart from the inside. Arya pulled up the station's original schematics on her console, her fingers dancing across the controls with practiced efficiency. Over the past month of evacuation runs, Ethan had found himself increasingly captivated by her combination of technical expertise and gentle compassion. She approached every problem with methodical precision, but never lost sight of the human cost of their withdrawal. The stabilizers were designed with 17 different redundancy systems, Arya said, her voice tight with professional frustration. You'd have to actively disable safety protocols to cause a failure like this. They must have thought our safeguards were unnecessary complications. Ethan felt a familiar knot of guilt tighten in his stomach. As one of humanity's most experienced deep space pilots, he had helped design many of the navigation and safety systems that aliens were now struggling to operate. Part of him wondered if they should have left behind more detailed instructions, even knowing that the aliens would likely have ignored them. There, Arya pointed to a section of the debris field where emergency beacons were still flashing. Survivors in that escape pod cluster. Ethan adjusted their approach vector, his hands moving across the flight controls with the unconscious grace of someone who had been flying dangerous routes for over a decade. I count 12 pods. Mixed alien crew by the beacon signatures as they began the delicate process of collecting survivors. Ethan's communication system crackled with an incoming transmission. The voice that emerged was heavily modulated by alien translation software, but the desperation came through clearly. Human vessel. This is Administrator Velthar of the Cytherian Exploration Service. We require immediate assistance with critical system failures across multiple installations. Ethan exchanged a look with Arya before responding. Administrator Velthar, this is Pilot Cross. We're conducting survivor rescue operations in the Kepler field. What's the nature of your emergency? Our deep space monitoring stations have been experiencing cascading failures for the past 2 months. Navigation beacons are providing incorrect data, gravitational sensors are malfunctioning, and our communication relays are operating at 12% efficiency. We have lost contact with 6 exploration vessels in the past week alone. Arya pulled up a star chart showing the region under Cytherian control. Red warning markers indicated system failures across dozens of installations, creating a pattern of collapse that extended far beyond the destroyed mining station. We can provide emergency rescue services, Ethan replied carefully, but we're not authorized to perform maintenance or repairs on alien installations. Please. Velthar's voice carried harmonics that human translators rendered as barely controlled. Panic. We will provide compensation far exceeding standard rates. Our people are dying because systems your species designed are failing, and we lack the knowledge to repair them. Ethan felt Arya's hand touch his arm gently, her warm fingers, providing comfort even through his flight suit. The gesture was brief but meaningful, a reminder that they were facing these impossible situations together. After ending the communication, Ethan continued the rescue operation while Arya monitored system reports from across the galaxy. The pattern was becoming clear. Critical infrastructure that humans had built and maintained for decades was failing at an accelerating rate, and the aliens lacked the knowledge or experience to prevent the collapses. It's not just the technical systems, Arya observed, studying data streams from intelligence sources still operating in alien space. Their entire economic model was built around human labor, managing the dangerous or complex jobs. Without us, they can't maintain the same level of technological sophistication. Ethan guided another escape pod into their cargo bay, his movements smooth despite the challenging gravitational conditions. Part of me feels guilty about this. These weren't the aliens who made the decisions about humanity's future. They're just workers trying to do their jobs. Arya turned in her seat to face him directly, her expression serious but understanding. I know, but what was the alternative? Accept permanent servitude to prevent short-term suffering. Allow our children to be raised as alien property to keep their systems running? The question hung between them as they continued their work. Ethan had been struggling with the same moral complexity for months. As someone who had spent years building relationships with alien colleagues, watching their civilization collapse felt like betraying friendships he had genuinely valued. The aliens in these escape pods. Arya continued softly, they're going to face hardship and uncertainty. But our children would have faced generations of slavery if we had stayed. Sometimes there are no good choices, only necessary ones. Ethan felt something shift in his chest as he listened to Arya speak. Her compassion for the alien survivors was matched by her unwavering commitment to human dignity, creating a moral clarity that he found both attractive and inspiring. Over the past month, their professional partnership had evolved into something deeper. Though neither had yet acknowledged the growing connection between them. "You're right," Ethan admitted. "I just wish the cost wasn't so high." "The cost was always going to be high," Arya replied, her hand finding his again as they worked side by side. "The question was whether we would pay it or force our descendants to pay it for us." 3 hours later, they had collected all the survivors from the destroyed mining station and were preparing to transport them to the nearest Catherian medical facility. The alien refugees filled their cargo bay, a mixture of species who had been working together until their world literally fell apart around them. As they approached the medical station, Ethan received another distress call from a different sector entirely. A Vorak trade convoy had become lost in an asteroid field when their navigation systems failed, leaving 30 ships and over 5,000 crew members stranded in a region known for spatial anomalies. "We could reach them in 8 hours, Arya said, checking their fuel reserves and life support capacity. "But we're not equipped for a rescue operation that large." The next several hours passed in a blur of emergency communications, improvised navigation solutions, and increasingly desperate requests for assistance from alien installations across the galaxy. Each crisis they helped resolve revealed 10 more that were beyond their capacity to address. "This is unsustainable," Arya observed as they finally set course for human space, their cargo bay full of alien refugees and their communication system buzzing with new distress calls. "There aren't enough human ships to respond to every emergency, and the failures are accelerating." As their ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying the latest group of survivors towards safety, Arya moved closer to Ethan in the confined space of the cockpit. The stress of the past month had brought them together in ways that peacetime never could have achieved. "Whatever happens next," she said quietly, "I'm glad we're facing it together." Ethan felt his heart skip a beat at her words, finally acknowledging what had been building between them for weeks. "I wouldn't want anyone else as my co-pilot in this, or anything else." Behind them, alien space continued its slow collapse into chaos, while ahead lay human territory and an uncertain but free future. The galaxy was learning, too late, the true cost of treating an entire species as expendable servants. 1 year after humanity's withdrawal from galactic civilization, Engineer Raven Cole crouched in the maintenance tunnel beneath Research Station Omega-7, her hands working quickly to disconnect the final quantum resonance array. The station had been humanity's most advanced scientific outpost, studying exotic matter in the dangerous proximity of a collapsed star. Now she was systematically removing every piece of equipment that might give the aliens insight into human technology. "Security sweep complete." Security Chief Adrian Vale's voice crackled through her comm unit. "No alien patrols in the immediate area, but long-range sensors are picking up a Catherian fleet about 6 hours out. We need to finish this and get clear." Raven felt a familiar flutter in her chest at the sound of Adrian's voice. Over the past 6 months of covert extraction missions, their professional partnership had evolved into something deeper. Working together in high-stress situations had stripped away the careful politeness they had maintained during peacetime, revealing the genuine attraction that had always simmered beneath the surface. "Almost done here," Raven replied, carefully removing the last connection point. "The quantum array is secure. Even if they figure out how to power up the station, they won't be able to replicate our research." The mission to Omega-7 was one of dozens that human special operations teams had conducted over the past year. When the initial evacuation had been completed, Earth Command discovered that critical research data and advanced technology remained scattered across dozens of installations in alien space. Rather than allow that knowledge to fall into alien hands, they had authorized covert retrieval missions to recover or destroy anything that might compromise human advantages. Adrian's voice came through the calm again, tension evident despite his professional tone. "Raven, we've got a problem. I'm detecting life signs in the research lab complex. Looks like alien scientists are still trying to operate some of the equipment." Raven cursed under her breath as she sealed the maintenance tunnel and began making her way toward the lab complex. The mission parameters had been clear: avoid contact with alien personnel whenever possible, but protect human technological secrets at all costs. If aliens were actively attempting to reverse engineer human innovations, the situation became much more complicated. She found Adrian waiting at the entrance to the lab complex, his dark hair slightly disheveled and his security uniform bearing the marks of their infiltration through the station's damaged outer hull. At 32, he possessed the kind of quiet competence that made people feel safe in dangerous situations, a quality that Raven found increasingly attractive as their missions grew more perilous. "What's the situation?" she asked, moving close. Enough to review the scanner readings on his data pad. 3 Alterran scientists and a Vorak technician, Adrian reported, his proximity making Raven acutely aware of his warmth in the station's cold atmosphere. "They're in Lab 7, trying to activate the exotic matter containment system. From the energy readings, they don't understand the safety protocols." Raven studied the scanner data with growing alarm. The exotic matter research had been humanity's most dangerous project, requiring precise magnetic field manipulation to prevent catastrophic explosions. Without proper understanding of the containment procedures, the aliens were essentially playing with a weapon that could destroy everything. "Within a 50-kilometer radius, they're going to kill themselves," she said, professional concern overriding mission parameters, "and probably take half the system with them when the containment fails." Adrian's expression reflected the same moral conflict that Raven was feeling. Their orders were to recover human technology and avoid alien contact, but allowing innocent scientists to trigger an exotic matter explosion went against every humanitarian instinct they possessed. "We could warn them remotely," Adrian suggested. "Send an anonymous message explaining the danger. They won't listen," Raven replied, remembering similar attempts to provide safety information during the evacuation. "The Alterans think human warnings are attempts to maintain technological superiority. They've ignored every advisory we've provided." A low rumble echoed through the station as the alien scientists attempted to initialize the containment system. Emergency lighting began flashing in the corridor, indicating that critical safety thresholds were being exceeded. Raven felt Adrian's hand touch her shoulder, the gesture both comforting and electrifying. "What do you want to do?" he asked quietly. Raven closed her eyes for a moment, weighing their options. They could complete their mission and leave, allowing the aliens to face the consequences of their arrogance. They could attempt a remote intervention that would likely be ignored, or they could violate their orders and directly intervene to prevent a disaster that would claim innocent lives. "We can't let them die," she decided, looking up into Adrian's eyes and seeing her own determination reflected there. "Even if they've made poor choices, they don't deserve to be vaporized for scientific curiosity." Adrian nodded, his hand moving from her shoulder to briefly squeeze her fingers. "I was hoping you'd say that. Though Command is going to have our heads for this." They made their way quickly through the station corridors toward Lab 7, their movements synchronized from months of working together in dangerous environments. Raven found herself stealing glances at Adrian as they moved, admiring his calm professionalism under pressure. Somewhere between their first covert mission and now, her respect for his competence had transformed into something much more personal. The lab doors were sealed, but Adrian's security codes still functioned. They entered to find 4 alien scientists clustered around a control console, their translation devices chattering excitedly as exotic matter readings climbed toward critical levels. "Stop," Raven called out, causing the aliens to spin around in surprise. "You're about to trigger a containment failure that will destroy this entire system." The lead Alterran scientist, his crystalline form shifting through colors that indicated suspicion and irritation, gestured dismissively. "Human interference is not welcome here. Your species no longer has authority over this installation." "This isn't about authority," Adrian said, stepping forward with his hands visible and non-threatening. "It's about preventing an explosion that will kill everyone in this lab and probably destroy 3 nearby planets." The Vorak technician chittered something that the translators rendered as scientific skepticism. Human safety protocols are excessive and designed to maintain technological dependence. We have studied your containment procedures and determined them to be unnecessarily conservative. Raven felt frustration building as she watched the exotic matter readings continue to climb on the display screens behind the aliens. They had perhaps 10 minutes before the containment field collapsed and released enough energy to sterilize the local solar system. "Look at your readings," she said, trying to keep her voice calm and professional. "The magnetic field resonance is approaching cascade failure. When it hits critical threshold, the exotic matter will undergo spontaneous conversion to pure energy." The Alteran scientists' form shifted to colors indicating stubborn determination. "We appreciate your concern, but we will not be deterred by human fear-mongering. Your species has consistently overstated dangers to maintain control over advanced technologies." Adrian moved closer to Raven, and she could see the same calculation in his eyes that she was making. The aliens would not listen to warnings or explanations. If they wanted to prevent the disaster, they would have to take direct action, which meant violating their mission parameters and potentially creating a diplomatic incident. "Raven," Adrian said quietly, "whatever we're going to do, we need to decide now." She looked at him, seeing not just her mission partner, but someone she had come to care about deeply. Over their months of dangerous work together, the realization that she might lose him in the next few minutes crystallized her feelings in a way that months of careful professional distance had prevented. "Together?" she asked, extending her hand toward the manual containment controls. "Together," Adrian confirmed, his own hand covering hers as they moved simultaneously toward the emergency shutdown systems. The next few minutes passed in a blur of rapid technical procedures, alien protests, and desperate attempts to safely dissipate the exotic matter before it reached critical mass. Working in perfect coordination, Raven and Adrian managed to stabilize the containment field just as the alien scientists finally began to understand the magnitude of the disaster. They had nearly triggered Dot as the immediate danger passed, and the aliens stood in shocked silence. Raven felt Adrian's arms encircle her in a brief, fierce embrace that communicated everything they had been too professional to say. During their months of partnership, "Nice work," he whispered against her ear. "You too," she replied, finally allowing herself to acknowledge what had been building between them. As they prepared to leave Omega-7 behind forever, Raven realized that humanity's withdrawal from alien space had given them something unexpected: the freedom to build relationships based on genuine choice rather than diplomatic necessity. 2 years after humanity walked away from galactic civilization, President Victoria Cross stood in the observation deck of Earth's newest orbital facility, watching construction crews put the finishing touches on humanity's first independent deep space exploration vessel. The massive ship, christened New Horizons, represented everything humanity had accomplished since declaring independence from alien oversight. It was larger, more advanced, and more capable than anything they had built while serving as junior partners in galactic society. "The final systems check is complete," Ambassador Dante Rivers announced as he joined Victoria at the observation window. His diplomatic uniform had been redesigned since humanity's withdrawal, featuring clean lines and confident styling that reflected their new status as an independent galactic power. Over the past 6 months of working together to reshape humanity's place in the universe, Victoria had found herself increasingly drawn to Dante's combination of strategic brilliance and unwavering integrity. "How do the aliens like our new ship design?" Victoria asked, noting how the afternoon sunlight caught the silver threads in Dante's dark hair. At 45, he possessed the kind of mature confidence that came from successfully navigating complex diplomatic situations, a quality that Victoria found both professionally valuable and personally attractive. Dante smiled, his expression mixing satisfaction with barely contained amusement. Speaker Murden of the Zephyrian Consortium requested another meeting this morning. Apparently, they're concerned about humanity's rapid technological advancement and would like to discuss mutual cooperation frameworks for our future relationship. Victoria laughed, remembering the arrogant certainty with which the aliens had dismissed human capabilities just 2 years earlier. "Let me guess, they want to offer us junior partnership status." In exchange for access to our new technologies? Something like that, Dante confirmed, moving closer to stand beside her at the window, though they're being much more polite about it than they were before. Amazing how quickly attitudes change when you're no longer dependent on someone else's goodwill. The transformation in humanity's circumstances had been remarkable to witness. Freed from the burden of maintaining alien infrastructure and managing alien problems, human scientists and engineers had redirected their talents toward advancing their own civilization. Research projects that had been postponed for decades, while humans served alien interests, were suddenly receiving full funding and attention. The engineering reports are impressive, Victoria observed, watching as the New Horizons underwent final preparations for its maiden voyage. Luna Martinez and her team have developed propulsion systems that are 30% more efficient than anything the aliens currently use. Our sensor rays can detect spatial anomalies that alien technology misses entirely. Are classified. Dante finished when she trailed off with a satisfied smile, though I imagine the aliens have noticed that our simple cargo vessels now require significantly more firepower to threaten than they used to. The pirate attacks that had plagued human shipping during their time under alien oversight had become virtually non-existent once human vessels began carrying adequate defensive systems. It turned out that most of the dangerous criminals threatening galactic commerce were actually opportunistic raiders who avoided well-armed targets. Ambassador Rivers, an aide announced from the doorway. The Alteran delegation has arrived for their scheduled appointment. Victoria straightened her formal jacket, noting how Dante's presence beside her made even routine diplomatic meetings feel more significant. Over the past 6 months, their professional partnership had evolved into something deeper, though both had been careful to maintain appropriate boundaries given their positions. How desperate do you think they are? Victoria asked as they prepared to leave the observation deck. Desperate enough to offer us equal partnership in their trade federation, Dante replied, along with territorial concessions, technology sharing agreements, and formal apologies for past misunderstandings. They made their way to the diplomatic conference room, where the Alteran delegation waited. The four-armed aliens who had once treated humanity with casual condescension now rose respectfully when Victoria and Dante entered, their translator devices immediately activating to facilitate communication. President Cross, Ambassador Rivers, the lead Alteran delegate, began, his multiple hands gesturing in patterns that indicated deep respect. We come bearing proposals that we believe will benefit both our civilizations significantly. Victoria took her seat at the head of the conference table, with Dante positioned beside her in a clear display of unified leadership. The symbolism was not lost on the alien delegates, who had grown accustomed to human representatives standing while aliens sat during their previous negotiations. We're always interested in mutually beneficial arrangements, Victoria replied diplomatically. What exactly are you proposing? The Alteran delegate activated a holographic display showing trade routes, territorial boundaries, and resource allocation charts. The Alteran Federation offers humanity full membership in our commercial alliance, with equal voting rights and shared access to all trade networks. In exchange, we request technical consultation services and access to your improved navigation technologies. Dante leaned forward slightly, his expression professionally neutral. And what guarantees do we have that this equal partnership will remain equal? If circumstances change, the question clearly made the aliens uncomfortable. Their translator devices struggling to render the complex harmonics that indicated embarrassment and defensiveness. They had spent centuries viewing other species as either superiors to be served or inferiors to be exploited. The concept of genuine equality remained foreign to their thinking. We propose formal treaties with binding arbitration clauses, the delegate replied after consulting with his colleagues. Any disputes would be resolved through neutral mediation rather than unilateral decisions. Victoria exchanged a look with Dante, seeing her own skepticism reflected in his eyes. The aliens were offering better terms than humanity had ever received before, but they were still approaching the relationship from a position of assumed superiority. We appreciate the offer, Victoria said finally, But humanity is currently focused on our own development projects. Perhaps in a few years, when we've established our independent capabilities more fully, we might consider limited cooperation agreements. The Alteran delegates made sounds that their translators rendered as barely controlled panic. President Cross, surely we can find terms that would be acceptable immediately. The Alteran Federation is prepared to offer unprecedented concessions. I'm sure you are, Dante replied smoothly. Unfortunately, we're simply not interested in returning to service-based relationships, regardless of the compensation offered. After the aliens left, clearly shaken by humanity's polite but firm rejection, Victoria and Dante returned to the observation deck. The New Horizons was preparing for departure, its sleek hull gleaming in the afternoon sun as it prepared to explore regions of space that had been forbidden to humans during their time under alien oversight. "Do you think we're being too harsh?" Victoria asked, watching the great ship begin its slow acceleration away from Earth. Dante moved to stand beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth of his presence. They spent decades treating us as useful servants. Now they want us to rescue them from the consequences of their own arrogance. I think a little harshness is entirely appropriate. Victoria felt something shift in the space between them as they stood together, watching humanity's greatest achievement prepare to explore the unknown. The formal distance they had maintained for months seemed suddenly unnecessary and artificial. "Dante," she began, then paused, uncertain how to express what she was feeling. "I know," he said quietly, his hand finding hers in the space between them. "I've been feeling it too." The admission hung in the air between them, carrying the weight of months of careful professionalism finally giving way to genuine emotion. Below them, Earth turned in its ancient orbit, while above them the New Horizons disappeared into the vast darkness of space, carrying humanity's hopes and dreams toward an uncertain but independent future. "Whatever comes next," Victoria said softly, "I want to face it with you." Together, Dante agreed, his fingers intertwining with hers as they watched the stars wheel overhead. Behind them, alien civilizations struggled with the consequences of their arrogance, while ahead lay infinite possibilities for a species that had finally chosen freedom over security, dignity over servitude, and love over convenience. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity wouldn't have it any other way.